Excellent. Well, welcome back from break, everyone. We're coming close to the end, but we've got a lot more content to go. So this will be following up. Natasha, you spoke yesterday about the different types of channels and looking at the convergence, I think, of ISOs and telecom channels. So very exciting, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to talk about expanding your reach through the channel. And we come from different perspectives, which is interesting. I'm moderating the panel today, but I come from more the connectivity side of the house. And we have representation here with distribution, hardware distribution through ScanSource POS portal. We've got, and everybody, if you could just say a little bit about your roles. We've got Ken with PAC, so representing hardware in the OEM piece, and Courtney with Freedom Pay from a commerce enablement platform perspective. So just a little bit about your roles, your company, and then we'll get right into the meat and potatoes of our panel. So we'll start with you, Courtney.
Sure. Sounds great. Thanks, Natasha, and thanks to everyone for having me. So at Freedom Pay, my role is I oversee the partnerships operation, and that goes from everything from business development to the operational deployment and working with our partners, folks with hardware and distribution, to enabling our resellers. So we work with lots of ISVs, ISOs, acquirers, et cetera, to essentially deploy our solution. And we really couldn't do what we do today without our partnership. So kind of excited to dive into that.
Thank you. Heather?
Perfect. I'm Heather Philpott. I'm the Director of Supplier Services for ScanSource. My background is from the POS portal space, and we were acquired by ScanSource about 6 years ago. My team focuses on all the payment supplier relationships within our organization. So we are responsible for making sure that not only do we have the hardware for all our partners, but that the relationships are growing, and we're thinking strategically how we can support them and grow their business within the various channels.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ken Schipper, and I manage two groups in PACS. I manage the inside sales team as well as the ISV intake team. So anybody that wants to integrate into PACS comes through our team. So I like to say it's kind of from hello to production. So ISVs are kind of our partners and as well as the ISOs. But the ISVs are a big part of the enablement piece that the merchants interact with every day. And we like to say, like I said, we enable them, but development's never done. So once they're integrated, ISVs are always adding features and doing integration and things like that, but we oversee that operation for PACS.
Thank you, Ken. And today we're going to have three major buckets of conversation. The first one is we're going to talk about market and industry trends, and then we're going to talk about how to leverage partnerships and the future outlook of the channel. So just kicking off, yesterday I moderated another panel, so interesting in terms of the same trends both in telecom and payments, but certainly the expansion of the ecosystem. So we're going to talk about what the ramifications of being able to expand where you drive your solution. Also partnerships, the notion, and Ken is very passionate about this, the notion of being that trusted advisor and saying to a merchant, tell me about your business so I can help. And then also we talked a lot about this. We had probably 5 to 6 calls, very, very interesting, but just the convergence in terms of taking the 7 entities on the countertop, bringing them to 4, and being able to, supply that solution, hopefully through, 2 solutions providers. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Ken and Heather, what do you see as industry shifts and trends?
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. We're seeing more and more that the worlds are colliding, not only in the traditional POS and payment space, but also with secondary services like connectivity or mobility. And I think the really exciting thing about that is from the distribution side, I mentioned that my company was acquired by ScanSource, a broadline distribution company, and so we're able to bring the traditional payment space to the market of VARs and traditional POS players and mobility sellers to add value-added services out to the channel and make it smoother for those customers because they don't look and see the POS thing without the payments device, and so it's all connected.
Yeah, Heather pointed out on one of the calls, and it's true, and it's been true for a long time. If you think about the merchant countertop, there's anywhere from 4 to 6 people, entities, if you will, on that countertop. You have the ISO there, the software guy, the connectivity folks, distribution, et cetera. So, really the convergence that's happening is now with the advent of these smart devices, we're essentially, went from these singly purpose-built devices that did a couple of things to putting computing devices on the countertop that do computing things, many things beyond just payments. So what you're seeing is a coordinated effort between an ISO, a distributor, the ISV, the OEM, to be able to have that out-of-the-box experience. We're pretty excited about some of the product that we brought out with the Elise line, which is basically a workstation and a box, but it really lays down the foundation for us to all collectively work together and deliver a solution out-of-the-box experience with the merchant. So that's really what's happening going on today.
Excellent. So Courtney, we'll start with you. What are the business challenges your organization is solving for, and how can a partner solution that?
Sure. So Freedom Pay as a whole has a very big philosophy around connectivity, and I think if you get nothing out of this is that connectivity and expanding your network as a partner is something that you need to be seeking to get that next level of connection with your merchants, because let's face it, we kind of can't all do it alone. So Freedom Pay is bridging the gaps between things like legacy providers in the point of sale industry, bringing them together with things like alternative payment methods, real-time banking, real-time deposits, the things that consumers and merchants alike all want within their ecosystem, but maybe they don't really know how to get there. So to Ken's point, we have 6 different devices out there. How do we get those into a smaller piece of the ecosystem? And then to your panel actually yesterday, I thought it was really interesting. How do we become a consultative type of partner to our merchants, and how do we work together? I'll tell you an interesting story just kind of about me is when I started at Freedom Pay, I started as an individual seller selling into smaller businesses, and I was competing with 2 other guys on the team, both veterans, 20 plus years working at micros, things like that, and I was like, I can't win against them. And I'm a very competitive person. Ken and I were talking about, my days in sports this morning, and I was like, I can't compete. Like, I won't get any leads. So I started going out and thinking, kiosks, like, let me go after kiosks. I found every single kiosk provider out there, convinced them to integrate to Freedom Pay. Then COVID hit, and then I was like, all right, we can't sell devices. I'm gonna find every e-com provider, the QR codes, the stuff that you guys see out there today. And that's kind of how I wound up in the position of overseeing our partnerships team is, that value and connectivity, being that consultative seller. You could ask me, hey, Courtney, which kiosk provider is fully integrated to Aloha, running on Android, and uses this payment device? And I'm like, here are the 2 that could do that. Just because, getting ingrained in these pieces of the ecosystem is providing value to ISOs, providing value to ISV, the connectivity that we are all providing here, especially you all at Advantix, is really going to help drive more sales and more consultative approach there.
Awesome. Heather?
Yeah, I think a big job for the distribution industry is being the connectivity of partnerships. So I'll tell a little story that was pretty cool. I was talking about it this morning. Last year we had a conference, and it was agents, traditional agents from the connectivity side, as well as traditional resellers, VARs, agents, ISO agents, not the agents I mentioned before, ISVs, and we had everyone coming to this one conference, and at that, a supplier saw an opportunity with all the devices going mobile to need SIM cards and connectivity solutions, and so they said, hey, I see these people at this conference, can you help us with that? And so my team was able to connect the Advantix team with the PAX team, and now they're working on a potential partnership and solution. So I think as a distribution company, our job is to make sure whether it's 2 suppliers connecting with each other, or maybe it's a traditional ISO or an ISV who needs to be connected with a traditional VAR to take the full solution to market at the end user. Our job is to make sure that we connect people with the right resources to deliver what the end users are asking for today.
Yeah, just to underline that, I tell my kids, smart person doesn't know all of the answers, just knows where to get them. And, we talk about the ecosystems and things like that is, we sell to a lot of restaurants, right? The restaurants have all kinds of other needs, right, that I don't necessarily provide, but I try to surround myself with other partners that do. So, so when we go after verticals, we try to understand what's keeping them up late at night and see if we can introduce partners to help alleviate that pain. But the trusted advisor is a huge role. I pride myself on our team where we have our customers call us up and then, hey, we're thinking of doing this. What do you think? Is what they ask. And we give them our thoughts. We tend to bring a lot of knowledge to the table because we see. I tell people we're on the rooftop of the building, so we see everything. We see all kinds of ISVs, we see all kinds of verticals, and we do a lot of matchmaking, believe it or not, even among ISVs that may be competitive in some nature, but together they're very formidable. So partnerships and being to understand the ecosystem you're selling into, and being able to bring the best of breed players to the table is important.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a comment
Sure.
to that. I think often we think of bringing a competitor or another reseller into your opportunity scares people, and they think, oh, that's going to make me lose business. But I actually think it helps you protect your business. If you have the right people at the table and the opportunity, you become that trusted advisor for that restaurant owner, that retail owner. They're not going to think, oh, they're only going to service me and not bring me the best of the table. But if you honestly say, hey, I can help you with your traditional POS in the retail space, but if you want to do mobile, we should bring in this other partner because this is something that they really focus on. Whether that be a supplier or another reseller, it will help you protect your business more than I think it will hurt your business.
Co-opetition is good in a lot
Yeah.
of cases.
I would definitely echo that. It's interesting that you say bringing folks together that are competitive, because once they can get past the fact that they will be building a better bridge and connecting the different folks, it makes them so valuable to the customer. And even honestly, I feel if they don't win that opportunity, because of the fact that they were able to bring a solution to the merchant, they will be remembered for years to come. They go to a different company, they build a new platform, they circle back, you say, oh, I have this for you now. You are part of the conversation still, even if you didn't win.
That's right.
And Ken, it's interesting, this is a little bit off script, but I think you can handle it. It's just interesting, we talk about companies that are creative and solving for business challenges. In conversations that we're having with PAX, it's just interesting how you guys are going beyond hardware, right? And we're talking about integrating connectivity right into their devices, but there is also this notion of beyond hardware. Can you talk a little bit about what that means to the market?
Yeah, so when we say beyond hardware, there's a lot of tools that have come to bear with the smart devices that we're all deploying now, right? The MDM, for instance, right, which everybody knows it as a terminal management system, TMS, it's evolved tremendously over the last 10 years. Now you have the ability to take these devices before you even receive them from Heather, a distributor, get the serial numbers in advance, get on the MDM, configure these devices, and you can have them ready as soon as they hit the customer directly or your partner and they access Wi-Fi, they provision. Now we got things like RKI, remote key injection, and things like that. I tell people, I said, everything that PAX brings to the table beyond the hardware are operationally impacted things, okay, that help you either respond faster with support, train customers more efficiently. We have things like AirViewer, right? First of all, these aren't new technologies. They've been around for 30 years. They're new to our industry. And AirView allows you to, instead of trying to figure out where the customer is on the screen, hold on a second, I'm going to send you a link, and I'm going to take over the device like I'm standing there, okay? So there are all these tools that go beyond just payments, but allow you to manage your customer and the device more efficiently and effectively. I tell people, if you think about what we all do in this room, we stand between people and their money, right? If the connectivity doesn't work, they don't get their money. If the payments don't settle, they don't get their money. So all of us in this ecosystem are facilitators of money to our customers that allow them to pay their employees and everything else. So when it doesn't work, people get a little angst, a little bit. So
Sure.
The more we can work together and the more tools that we can implement to proactively manage this stuff, the better. Because at the end, the technology is going to mess up. And it's really, this is a cliche, but it's people, process, and technology, right? I mean, the people are the ones that help overcome the technical issues. But, I think more and more as we progress, these tools get more, in the wild and people get familiar and comfortable with them. I think the better we'll all be.
Excellent. So we're going to talk a little bit about the channel strategy. And in the room, I believe we've got ISO, super ISOs is my favorite term of the week so far, fintech, gateway, processors, and so forth. So walk me through, Courtney, a cradle-to-grave solution where Freedom Pay will also maybe in partnership with Heather. I mean, that's how, the interesting piece about this panel. You know, walk us through a cradle-to-grave solution, potentially leveraging some or all parts here.
Sure, yeah. To touch on that, we do this Freedom Pay day in and day out. Like I said, you know, in my intro, we couldn't do what we do without our partnerships. Whether it is our 8+ processor connections just in the US alone, or our 1,000+ ISV integrations with our technology, all of those different pieces converging with Freedom Pay in the center are really what drives the value. So I would say when you're thinking about a cradle-to-grave solution, you know, we're going out and working with our top resellers like an Agilysys or a Revel, or some of the major processors that resell us, the banks that work with Freedom Pay, who are all kind of leveraging our technology. And actually, most of our sales kind of come through those partnerships. And they'll go out and solution and say, hey, you know, Marriott, for example, what do you have within your ecosystem? What types of point of sale systems? Do you have Micros? Are you working with Infor? All of these different touch points that are the selling systems that need to be up and running for reservations to be made or spa appointments to be made or, you know, a tip to be left and added to a server's checkout. All of these different pieces of the ecosystem where, you know, we go in, we partner with a processor, for example. They would like to sell to each part of this ecosystem. We help them solution against that, and then we go through and work with our partners at ScanSource and our OEM providers that providing hardware out there, and they take care of everything. They place the order with Freedom Pay, we send it on over to ScanSource, all of the injections, the fulfillment, everything that Heather and her team do, whether it's upfront logistics, reverse logistics, all of those things are maintained through our partnerships, and the provisioning as well as the production of the actual hardware are all taken care of through our partnerships with others. So it's not only the upfront selling, I would say, and the consultation and all of those conversations we have with merchants on behalf of our partners or together, but it's the fulfillment side and the actual devices making it there and actually being available in the market.
Yeah. Are all those segments monetizable?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's the services of boots on the ground. There's the services of integrations. Ken and I were actually just talking about, you know, the number of integrations we have coming through the pipeline. Where do we send them here? Where do we send them there? How do we help these folks?
Right.
And, you know, the bank's making money, the processors making money. Everybody's making their piece of the pie. But ultimately, I think everything kind of stems back to connectivity and making sure that these folks are up and running, and that's kind of the key there to help them make money, the merchants, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Heather?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the value of like a modern value-add distributor today is they can do as much or as little as your business needs. So in the Freedom Pay example, a majority of our business is full service. So like you said, they're kind of hands-off when it comes to the deployment of like the physical device and all the services, both pre-sale and post-sale, reverse logistics, advanced exchange. Something goes down, we make sure it gets back on the counter of their merchant. But we also, in the traditional channel space with VARs or ISOs, those are services that those partners provide. And so we support that for them, and we help them either white label programs that we manage for them, or we just provide the hardware and they handle the rest. And so I think the opportunity to get involved as you want with your end users or not is open, and we're supporting of that and make sure to get you the right partners to do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about this topic. You know, it's these POS systems and the ISVs are not just point of sales anymore. They've become CRMs for that vertical, right? They're doing more than point of sale. They're managing inventory. They're managing payroll. They're doing all kinds of things, right? We're doing pay at the table, so we're operational. It's not just a terminal on a countertop anymore, right? So when we talk about cradle to grave, you know, my former life was computers. You know, started in the computer business when they came out, and back then it got to a point where the companies that consume these computers were like, wait a minute, I make basketballs. I don't manage technology. So we started putting together, programs, cradle to grave, where when they purchased it, we managed it from the time they bought it till the time they either upgraded and moved on to the other things. So we're starting to come up with programs to work with folks like Heather to give an element where we provide an element of hardware as a service, okay? So instead of buying that device, go ahead and acquire that device, and we'll work out a program between Heather and other folks in the ecosystem to provide a monthly fee for that device that includes the software and support, okay? What does that mean? Well, that means that now we've taken something that was a capital expenditure and made it an operating expense that everybody can write off every month, right? But more importantly, after a period of time, we can go in there jointly to that customer in 3 years and say, you know what? Do you want to pull out all this old technology, put new technology, and just keep going, right? And that's being more, this is, again, not a new idea. This has been in the technology business for a long, long time. But, I think that's the other thing that's been interesting to me the last 3 or 4 years with the pandemic is I call it the great technology refresh. You had a bunch of merchants that either didn't have contactless and needed it, didn't have mobile devices and needed the ability to take their business from the counter to the curb. All that's been going on the last 3 or 4 years, right, with this technology. So, I think we're all coming together, we're all working together closer than we ever did before. But coming up with ideas like this to allow the merchants to acquire technology easily and effectively, and us working together is really where we're going in the future, in my opinion.
Excellent. Excuse me, Heather, who are the channel partners you feel can most monetize, or even another way to look at it, who in the room, we talked about different channel partners, do you feel like you do the most business with? Who are the ones that could monetize and aren't at the table yet? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think evolution is in hyperspeed right now. And so I think whatever you were doing 5 years ago, whatever you're doing today, it's going to look so different in 5 years from now. And so I think the exciting thing is that finding those partnerships, finding that education, and finding a new way to bring new revenue to your business is it's out there and it's important. And so I don't think there's one channel that I look at. When I look at the traditional bar space and POS hardware, they've got to add payments. When I look at mobility, they're adding POS. Soft POS is kind of a hot topic right now. I'm seeing suppliers like Zebra jump into the payment space. I'm seeing traditional ISOs get more into the ISV space and selling software with their processing. So I just think there's opportunity for everyone. You just got to look outside of your traditional walls, either finding a partnership to add to your stack or finding a new service or solution that you can add to your stack.
Are there any VARs in the room? Yeah, that I did a poll yesterday, and I had a guest yesterday come, and she was a VAR. They're the largest MMS provider in North America, and I asked her, I said, do you see the convergence of telecom payments? She's like, yes, as a VAR, and they're probably like 800 million revenue. She said that because they focus so much with retail, very, very large retail, she said it's not a big percentage of their revenue, but when it hits, it's big. So they sell like the mobile handhelds, right? And then they provide the managed services, the help desk around those devices. And then I'm like, well, how do you get to payments? And she said, because they listen. So to Ken's point, they're listening all the time as the trusted advisor. And when somebody says, oh, I'm going to refresh my entire POS tech stack, they're like, let us help you. So it was just fascinating that in that VAR world, for her, she's already stacking that. They're stacking that revenue. So thought that was an interesting, a cradle to grave as well. So we have, is it 6 minutes? 5. Okay, great. So we'll kind of wrap up a little bit here and see if there's any questions. But in regards to contactless and getting outside the 4 walls, obviously I'm very passionate about this because I'm in the connectivity side of the business. But what are you all seeing? And I can certainly weigh in as well. Actually, I'll just kind of get out there. It's interesting, Freedom Pay, is already working with us to say, wouldn't it be so much more seamless for our partners and our clients if all it is there's a SIM embedded in the solution and it's lit up? Same with PACs. And we're going into the arena of eSIMs. So no more like physical cards, right, that sit in your devices. This is digital inventory. And so that's all happening even like as we sit here, and it's all empowered by Heather through ScanSource and POS Portal. So anyway, but I'm sorry, I jumped ahead, but go ahead.
I think those are great examples. You know, being that there's only a couple of minutes left, I'll say the expansion beyond just traditional brick and mortar was very transformed over, you know, COVID kind of coming in and pushing things very much outside the four walls of a brick and mortar location. So as we can help to consult merchants and consult partners and help with bridging the connectivity, what I will say is expanding the network and being able to ensure that there is consistent connectivity, whether it's through online or enabling the SIM within those payment devices. If we can always ensure merchants are up and running and fully connected, that will be a very big help to them and a great way to provide value.
Yeah, I think just the lane is changing. It's no longer 6 lanes in the front of the grocery store, or a kiosk for servers to go to. I think everything is mobile. When you go to Target, you expect that Target worker to be able to tell you where something is, like, hey, can you tell me where aisle 7 is, this basketball is, and they can look on their little handheld and tell you aisle 17. Or I was at a restaurant here a couple days ago, and the server said, thanks, you ready for your bill? I said, yeah, and they dropped a mobile device on my table and walked away. And so we're just looking for speed of service, and I think that connectivity is the thing that's going to make those devices work and have failover solutions when Wi-Fi goes down. And so I think the world won't work without the convergence of these solutions, and it's a great opportunity for people to add value to their offering.
Yeah, you know, I agree. You know, Sims, you know, before the pandemic, were very verticalized, right? You know, it depends on who you were and, you know, what kind of business you were. We're starting to see it more and more as a business continuity thing. To Heather's point, you know, everything's changing. You know, kiosks, for instance, used to be very verticalized, right? Now, you know, I was at an event about a year ago, and somebody said to me that, you know, kiosks have changed. And it's not just, you know, convenience. They're replacing human beings that they can't find to hire, right? So it's not just about a kiosk, it's about the ISV software on the kiosk. Is it intuitive, right? Somebody from 5 years old to 85 years old is gonna walk up to this thing, right? So, you know, connectivity, intuitiveness, software, all of this stuff is starting to converge, where they were kind of dispirited before. We all kind of did our own lane and kind of pointed fingers when things went wrong. Now we're kind of working together and trying to eliminate roadblocks. You know, I'm a big one on my team about what happened this month, right? And how do we engineer the problem or fix it so it doesn't happen again next month, right? So, and again, it all comes back to one thing, is money, right? I mean, we're standing between everybody and their money, all of us. I mean, my hardware could work, Heather could get the gear there on time, connectivity could happen, but I'll pick on you, Freedom Pay could go down, right?
We have Store and
vice
Forward,
versa,
okay?
right?
We are always up.
But it all matters. I mean, you know, Store and Forward, you know, things like that, and understanding what that is. You know, Store and Forward to me was kind of funny because we had some customers that were, you know, selling flat panel TVs for $2,000 and not getting an authorization. Kind of risky, right? So we all got to explain to the merchants what that means. But, you know, I'm excited that we're all kind of working together proactively as an industry, and I think it's really going to change, you know, how the merchants view all of us in the future.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So hopefully this, provides a platform for the partners in the room to future-proof their business and think about, you know, all the different providers and how you can stack that revenue, expand your ecosystem, and also expand your value, right, as the trusted advisor to your client base. So with that said, we will open up to any questions. Yes.
Thank you so much. This was so inspirational to me. And I don't know if this is a question or a comment, but as a journalist, when I think about connectivity and I think about payments, they're both invisible when they're working well. And so you guys are like the best invisible friends ever.
Love it. Like superheroes.
Yeah, I'm gonna date myself here, but you know, like when you picked up a phone that was mounted to your wall at your house and there was a dial tone there, you didn't know how the dial tone got there. It was just there, right? And the same thing, I think that's what we're used to. You know, I mean, I'm watching my kids, and I watched a couple other sessions earlier. Yes, I'm an older parent with younger kids, and they're like Venmo and touch this and touch that. I mean, this next generation is going to push the boundaries of connectivity on how they pay and everything else. And we just got to be ready for it. That's all.
And have a lot of money to fund their
Yeah,
digital
somebody asked
spending
me
habits.
somebody asked me what it costs to raise a daughter, and I said $1 million at every single Apple product that comes out.
Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.